Hey guys, how are you today? I've been getting a lot of inbox messages asking more about using acrylics and doing ombres. And since everybody is really into the pink and white, the beige and white and stuff like that, I figured I would do one of those. I want to thank all of you for the nice words and messages and stuff like that. I'm glad I could be an inspiration to at least one person out there that I'm having a good day. So, and also here's my nails. Let's get that out of the way. I know everybody wants to say, "Let me see your nails." And thank you, thank you. So, let's get started. I have my practice tip. I have my CND liquid retention, and I have my CND Perfect Color opaque pink, cool pink, and I have my little Buddha jar of white. I also have my clear for encapsulation. Now, encapsulation, you have to do that most times. I would say 99% of the time. You should encapsulate your ombre to protect your colors because you don't want to file them away at the end, especially if you're bulking up too much product and you have a lot of filing to do. You always will cut through and get to the color, and once you mess the color up, it's very hard to fix. Or, you know, if you get lucky, you have a client that's understanding and you can cover it with glitter or diamonds or something like that. But let's go ahead and get started. The key to doing a good ombre with your colors to start is going very thin. You want to start building up your apex with your colors. However, your encapsulation with your clear is going to be your strength, your structure, and most of your apex. So what I'm going to start with first is white at the bottom. So I'm going to get a nice wet bead of white. And I would say you want to go up about 3/4 of the nail and press that down and start pressing back and getting the back part here thin, because that's where the other color is going to be placed and blended down. So while this is setting, I'm going to turn my brush around while this is still nice and wet, and I'm going to fan it back. It doesn't matter how far you fan it back, just fan it back so there's no sharp start and end to that color. Okay, and now this is starting to set. I can start pressing and pulling down. So I'm just lightly pressing it using very little pressure, making sure you're covering your sidewalls, but not going under. Don't push the product under because that's more filing at the end. And you want to just keep pulling it down. And if you can't do this with one bead, that's okay. You would stop here, put another bead, and just blend it in to finish the tip. But this bead looks like it's going to be enough to cover this for me. And the sidewalls are looking nice and straight. We'll look under the nail as soon as this is done to see if any product had gotten pushed under there. So just bring it to the tip, wipe off any excess. Let's go ahead and flip it over. It looks like just a tiny, tiny bit, and which is not bad. Even a file or a buffer might take that away. And let's just make sure your sidewalls are set, because if you can get this down, the less filing the better, sis, and you know it. So now that the white is good, I'm going to make sure that my brush is cleaned off. I'm going to put this down for a second because I don't want to get that white back in my monomer because it gets it all cloudy and nasty, like it just did a little bit. So now I'm ready to go in with my opaque. So I'm going to get a nice wet bead, because the wetter the better. Not too wet, don't get me wrong, but the wetter it is, the better it will blend. So I'm basically going to put this right where I started with my white. So it's right under where you can see it's fanned up. And I'm going to press that back. And my opaque dries quick, so I need to move a little quick. And now I'm going to start pulling that down, pulling it down, pulling it down, blending it right in. And I guess it would be up to you or your client, you know, how far you want your white up, how much pink you want coming down. Make sure your sidewalls are are all even still. Make sure you're not bulking up the product too much. And just by laying that opaque down, we have set up our apex a little bit up there, which is good. So I'm going to get another smaller bead of my opaque for the cuticle area, and I'm going to press that there, making sure it's very thin in the back, because you always have to keep in mind you still got to do your clear, so you got to make sure this stuff is thin. Okay, so what I like to do when I'm done my ombre is go back and repeat the process very thinly. So I'm going to get some white, a smaller bead, and I'm going to put it like halfway up the pink, and I'm going to start pulling it down. And then I'm going to get a little bit more of my pink, nice wet bead. I'm just going to slap it on there and start dragging it down to help blend that color. And then once that's done, you can go back in and get a nice wet bead, get yourself clear acrylic. And I like to put my bead on sideways, especially on long pointy nails, because it kind of just flows in the direction of the nail. Clean off your brush. And if you get a nice wet bead of clear, this also helps blend the colors together as well. Now we have a nice strong apex. We have glitter that never wants to go away. And since I just looked at it sideways and I can kind of see a little dip here, and I know if I file this to this, it's going to be a little too thin, so I'm going to add a little bit more clear there to build that up, just a little bit. I'm going to fan it off, turn my brush around, fan it back, and now that took care of that problem. And then you don't have such a bulky nail, you have a nice blend, and it's a nice acrylic ombre. And then of course you could decorate it with stones or glitter or, you know, whatever you want. Let's look underneath. Underneath looks good, so there won't be any cleaning underneath, maybe just a little bit. And that's it, guys. Then you would do your filing, your buffing, top coat, shine it up, and get them out of your chair. I hope that helped you, and if you have any questions, leave them below, and I will try to answer them the best I can. And have a great day.